Natchez, the documentary, my review. Natchez is a must-see. Susanna Herbert and Darcy McKenna hit a grand slam with this production. Before I get into my review, let me share why I'm so enthusiastic about the movie. I'm very familiar with Natchez. My latest trip was just in mid-January, and that was before it was released in the theaters. My father's from the area, specifically Sycamore or part of Faraday, which is about 15 minutes away as you cross the bridge which separates central Mississippi and Louisiana. Natchez is also a piece of commerce, is a place of commerce for those on the Louisiana side, specifically Vidalia, Faraday, Sycamore, Ridgecrest, and other small communities. And many of those communities were cotton plantations back in the day. Okay, many of my family, including my father, are buried in Natchez. As a matter of fact, on the way to the Natchez City Cemetery and the Natchez VA Cemetery, you pass many of the mansions and antebellum properties shown in the doc. The producers did a great job in juxtaposing the two perspectives of Natchez, those who relish their antebellum heritage and those of the enslaved. Because of the large cotton production during the slavery era and even beyond, as sharecropping became the custom, you get a better understanding of the majestic properties which were occupied by whites or those whose business was supplying cotton and other crops. Their factories, quote-unquote factories, or land used to grow cotton was on the Louisiana side, which featured huge plantations to produce the product. During its heyday, specifically in the 18th and 19th century, cotton was king, and it could not be produced fast enough due to the insatiable demand of the European market as well as demand created from American expanding. It's the perspectives offered by those in the doc which is the magic sauce. Natchez is the fourth or fifth largest city in Mississippi. However, at one time it was known as the second largest area for slaves to reside. Hence, you get a better understanding of why even today it is a majority African-American city, although many of the properties and other resources are still controlled by whites. The doc tackles race, never an easy topic to put on the table. Many gloat about their heritage and the prestige created without understanding racism being institutional and the result of privilege is not something that just happened. On the other hand, through legitimate voices from those in the African-American community, you hear the pain and the humiliation of slavery, which allows them to proudly proclaim the lives of their ancestors, that it was not something they joyfully embraced. Again, complicated as seen in the various scenes, but for those with an objective heart, it's not about making white folks feel bad or black folks feeling ashamed. It's merely one that historical facts have to come out, and that's why Natchez became so important to Southern life. The doc features some interesting characters of those who share anecdotal perspectives. The lady who adorned becoming a Southern belle, very interesting. The Rev puts it on the table. Although uncomfortable for some, he is unapologetic in highlighting the black point of view. The owner of the muffler shop offers some consternation, but it appears his attitude is it's better to join them than to resist or keep the truth muffled. The gay homeowner is very interesting, proud of his heritage as well as his marginalization of the African-American community and their ancestors. The African-American lady who purchased slave quarters, restored the property to greatness, offered someone who has no problem in making sure her perspectives is not lost and has no problem in sharing her side of the history, how the slaves grew to such importance and proudness during that area, and why it was so critical for her to purchase that those slave quarters and restore them to what you see in the movie. Absolutely amazing. The park rangers were outstanding. Even though they were restricted by the mandate to keep everything historically correct, the African-American ranger broke loose with an interpretation that will leave you on the edge of your seat. The mayor was very intriguing, and you can't help but love him, as this position was simply, can we all just get along? The film is about an hour and a half, and I don't know if the producers intended this, but hopefully after seeing it, viewers are inspired to learn more about its history and realize at the end of the day, it's part of, very, very critical part of the American story. One last point. Even though I've been to the area many times, it took this doc for me to realize the connection to Natchez and the communities in Louisiana that produced the commodities which allowed the plantation owners to create the properties which make the city such an intriguing place to visit. On the Louisiana side, you've got just, as far as the eye can see, flat areas of agricultural fields, or otherwise cotton crops or soybeans or whatever the crop might be at that time. But then you get on the Natchez side, which is Natchez is somewhat of a congested, or the historical part of Natchez is somewhat congested, even though it's about maybe 20,000 people in Natchez. It's that historical land, the historical properties which make the film such a must-see, because you get a chance to see firsthand, and the properties are still there even to this day. As I said, I was just there, and the properties are just magnificent. They're well kept. They maintain the tradition because tourism is very critical to the area. So I would encourage you to see Natchez. Tell me what you think. I think it's something, if you don't have to be a history buff like me. You just have to be a person that wants to see a film of interest. And I am pleased that the producers made this, and it's now available to the public. Thank you, and thank you for taking time to watch my review.